Good morning, Venerable Kalden.
Wait a second. Good morning. Good morning.
And we'll just wait for about 2 minutes or 3 minutes, Venerable. Today is
Okay.
Diwali, so I don't.
Today is Diwali. Yeah.
It's a long weekend as well.
Oh, yeah, people would be
Yes,
traveling, I
celebrating.
guess,
But
celebrating.
we'll just wait, Venerable.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So what about you? You're not going somewhere?
No,
How are you
Venerable.
celebrating? How is your family celebrating Diwali?
This year we don't have a celebration. We lost our first.
Oh,
I
yeah.
lost my first cousin on my father and my mother's side.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
there's no celebration today.
Yeah.
Welcome, Sujita.
Hi, Deepti. Sorry, I'll log out and log in as myself again. I can't hear you.
I think it's okay.
No, you're hosting. How stupid. I forgot. I'll come back, okay? I'll disconnect.
Hello?
Hi, Dee.
Can you hear me? Hi,
Yeah.
happy Diwali.
Happy Diwali to you too. Yeah, thanks.
Can I request all of you when Venerable is teaching to kindly keep your mics off, but your videos on? Thank you. Venerable, we'll give it a minute. We'll wait a minute longer.
Sure, yeah.
I think people are just having their celebrations, early morning celebrations. Let them come.
Yeah.
Happy Diwali to you too, Venerable, Andy, and everyone.
Oh, wish you too a very happy Diwali, Sangeeta.
Thank
How
you.
are you celebrating?
Me and my husband are not too much into
Oh,
any
you're not bursting
celebration as such.
crackers.
No way. I've been actually both of us run away from the cities to either trek or the place away from all the noise and the pollution.
Oh, okay.
But this time we happen to be in Pune. So we
Okay.
have our family, our brothers and cousins coming in. But otherwise, we try and keep it very quiet.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah. So today is Bhai Dooj, right? Oh, tomorrow. What's today?
No, today is I think in Maharashtra we call it the Narak Chaturdashi, where you have to have an early morning bath. Tomorrow is
Today is
Lakshmi Puja.
Dhanteras.
No, yesterday was
Dhanteras.
Dhanteras, I think, as per I don't know. They
Okay, I
were
don't
said yesterday, and Bhaya Dooj is I think on Thursday. Yeah, my brother's coming, so yeah, it's on Thursday.
Thursday. Oh, that's still 3 days away. Yeah.
Which city are you from, Venerable?
I'm from Bombay.
Oh, you're from Mumbai. Okay.
Yeah.
So it reminded me a lot because me and my husband worked in the corporate sector for donkey's years, and then we had enough of. So we didn't. I didn't ordain, but I quit the rat race and kind of joined and worked with an NGO and came to Pune because after some time Bombay was just like a mad rush.
Oh, it's gotten worse. If you've traveled to
Yeah,
Bombay recently, you would realize that.
yeah, it's crazy.
It's crazy. I mean, they keep claiming that they're trying to improve the infrastructure and all that, but all I see is no, more of these new flyovers, but they're not kind of
Yeah.
decongesting the traffic in Bombay. It's just kind of getting worse. They're just kind of shifting the bottlenecks. That's all.
Bangalore
Correct,
is
correct.
getting there, Venerable.
Bangalore is actually worse than Bombay.
Yes, there
I
is a
need to tell
rating that
you.
has happened recently, and in the rating, they said Bangalore is the third worst city to live in.
I think, yeah, they've done some research. It's
I
probably
do this
the
every day.
slowest moving traffic in the world, probably.
I'm exhausted because of the traffic, Venerable.
It is bad in Bangalore, yeah.
And our jobs are not going to get replaced by AI. So
You should be grateful that, for that. Yeah.
I am grateful, yet I'm thinking I'm the only one who will be traveling every single day to school.
Yeah. Commutes in Bangalore are really tiring and exhausting. It's
Yes.
worse. It's a little worse than Bombay, actually. And Bombay has its own constraints. I mean, it's got no space to expand into. At least Bangalore has that.
Soon, like in the
Luxury.
Bombay trains, I'll also bring onions and tarkari and start chopping and keep it in the
Oh,
ladies' compartment. I
yeah.
keep seeing it in Bombay.
Oh, yeah. You spend a significant part of your life on the train, so might as well, do all
Yeah.
these things. There are all kinds of things that happen on the Bombay local
Bhajan
trains.
Mandali.
Bhajan Mandali, yes. Yeah. It's fun. It's fun. I mean, I love Bombay, actually. It's got its own challenges. I mean, it's a nice, warm place, warm culture.
Yeah.
And it's quite cosmopolitan also. I mean, it's got people from all over India.
It's the heart of the country.
Some people who dispute that, of course.
Venerable, if it's not too much of a personal question, just what was it that motivated you to quit the corporate sector and become a monk? If it's not too personal, and if you want to, because I go through these phases where when I also quit my corporate career and kind of moved into, of course, started with little filmmaking and then working with the NGOs and doing some workshops now for the last few years. But there's always this question that okay, now I'm married, but okay, should I ordain? Or, that thought keeps coming in. So, what was it that really motivated you to really jump in?
Yeah, I mean, to give you a brief answer, it wasn't about, canceling or negating something, giving up something. It was, um, uh, my connection, my association with the people that I've met in Bangalore, um, and through my study of Buddhism, whoever I connected with. And those are the people, they kind of inspired me, and they kind of emerged as role models, or at least presented an alternative model for me to kind of, consider following, and kind of gradually gravitated towards the model that they had deployed. So it was more about, wanting to emulate them, because I could see that, this path had made such a difference to their general being. Yeah, and I just felt that it would be worth trying that path out, because I didn't have any major encumbrance in my household or life. I had deliberately kind of kept those encumbrance a little away from myself. So I had a little freedom to experiment. Yeah. So yeah, that's it. It happened gradually. I mean, there isn't a single trigger, so to say. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you so much for sharing.
Maybe we can start, Venerable.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
welcome. Just wait for everyone. If you can, please put your videos on. That'll be great if it's possible. No force. And we'll just wait for Madhvi. She's working her blinds. Welcome everyone to Choe Khor Sum Ling. And we are online today. And on this auspicious day of Diwali, thank you all for joining us. And thank you, Venerable Kalden, for joining us today and leading a session on a guide to Bodhisattva's way of life, a really auspicious text that is very close to our heart at CKSL. We somehow manage to do it every single year. And there's so much to learn from this book, and there is so much to imbibe from this book, whichever chapter, whichever verse that you take. Venerable, I tried writing it many years ago and offering it to His Holiness. I finished writing it, but I see that every time I go through it, I'm learning something more and more and more from it. And I still, His Holiness once looked at Darima and me in Dharamshala and said chapter 6 and chapter 9 to us. And we were such fools. We didn't even know what he was talking about, and then we kind of connected. So it's very important, this book, to all of us. And thank you so much for guiding us through this book. And it's very rare to get this teaching. And you're going through exams and all that, and you're here to teach us. So thank you all. Thank you very, very much. And I hope we can benefit from this class. Um, as you all know, that the chat box is there for you to ask questions. Venerable is here, so you can ask questions directly or write them in the chat box. Thank you.
Thank you, Dipti. No. Anirodham nutpadam nachedam shashvatam anigartham nanartham nagamam narkamami praditsam nutpadam prapancham bhashmam shivam desham masa samandasam mandevadatam. Namo Buddha, everyone, and wish you all a very happy Diwali. So it's nice of you to take time off on a Sunday morning. I'm sure you'd have had other plans. What's all that? Oh, wow. Yeah. So, yeah, as Deepthi said, we're discussing this text, the Bodhisattva's Guide to the Bodhisattva's Way of Life, or Bodhicharya Avtara, a text authored by a very renowned practitioner from Nalanda University, Acharya Shantideva. So we've already commenced this course. I think we've had 2 sessions, and we're discussing the first chapter from this text. So we've done some verses. I think we've reached verse number 16 in the first chapter. The first chapter talks about the benefits of what is called bodhicitta, or the awakening mind, or the mind of enlightenment, or the altruistic mind. There are different translations of the term. So we'll explore what this term means, what its definition is, what the definition implies, and then of course we'll explore the meaning of all the verses in the first chapter which are pending. As I said, we paused at 16. The first chapter has 36 verses, so we need to cover another 20 to complete this chapter and proceed to the next chapter. But before we do that, I think it's nice if we can do a short meditation to help us with our concentration and also to help us set a proper motivation for the session. It's always beneficial to start with a good motivation, and that's probably 50% of the job. 50% of what we hope to in terms of benefit, what the benefit that we hope to draw from this in this discussion, from participating in this discussion. So it's always good to start with a good motivation. So let's do that. We'll do what is called observing the mind, or a mindfulness meditation. And most of you are aware that there are 4 different kinds of mindfulness bases that we need to cover during these mindfulness meditations. So there's something called the mindfulness of the body. So we'll use the breath as a proxy for the body. Then there's mindfulness of feelings. Then there's mindfulness of the mind itself, and then the mindfulness of phenomena, where we are aware of the different states of being of whatever object we focus on during our meditation. So it could be the breath, it could be the mind itself, the different moments of the mind, and then we see whether those moments of the mind are characterized by any specific kind of property. And if you studied Buddhism, usually we speak about phenomena being characterized by these properties of impermanence, emptiness, and all that. And let's see if we can cultivate mindfulness of those phenomena also. So that's the 4th base. So these are the 4 bases of mindfulness meditation. So as I said, we'll use the breath as a starting point, as an anchor for the meditation. But it's possible that it's inevitable that our mind will stray and then wander off to other objects of meditation, or other objects rather. And then we can continue to kind of keep the focus on breath. But if it strays, then we observe where the mind is, and then use other aspects of the mind, namely vigilance, to kind of bring it back to the object of focus, which is the breath. And then we'll also observe feelings that arise when we do this meditation. And then, as I've done it in the previous meditation sessions also, this is an opportunity for you to acquaint yourself with what your mind is up to and what are the different distinct kinds of minds that arise in our mental continuum. So we've discussed some of the different kinds of minds that typically arise. So there are cognitive states that arise, there are affective states that arise. Within the cognitive states, there are those which could be termed as direct perceivers, direct perceptions. There are those which could be termed as inferential cognizers. There are those which are just mere thought conceptualities. There are minds which are in the nature of doubt. There are minds which are in the nature of nature of wrong consciousnesses or mistaken consciousnesses. So they're all, there are memories that could be classified as subsequent cognizers. So there are different kinds of minds that arise in our mental continuum. So when we are doing this mindfulness meditation, it would be nice to keep track of the mind and then be able to then later identify what these distinct minds are. So usually when we do the meditation, we follow up it with the discussion on what these distinct minds are. But today maybe we'll skip that because we need to cover the verses from the first chapter. But this is an exercise for you when you do the meditation on your own. At the end of the meditation, maybe you can draw a list list down all the distinct kinds of minds that arose in your meditation session. Okay, so start up with the mindfulness meditation. Make sure that you have a proper posture, and keep your back erect, shoulders straight, arms relaxed, right palm resting in the left palm, and the tip of the thumbs touching each other. And this mudra resting in your lap, left arm resting in your lap, just below the navel. And chin slightly tucked in, tip of the tongue just resting behind the upper row of teeth. Eyes either half open or fully closed. If you keep your eyes half open, then you can direct your gaze just down the tip of your nose in the space in front of you. And then take a moment to just calm your mind, just park all the chatter that's going on in your mind about things other than what we've identified as a topic of discussion for the session today. And then bring the focus of your mind to your in-breath. As it starts, it leaves a sensation in the area between the tip of your nose and the upper lip. And then it enters your nostril, either one of your nostril or maybe even both. So observe the in-breath as it passes through the nostril or the nostrils. Observe the sensation there. And then track the in-breath, the entire body of the in-breath as it passes through the nostrils, down your throat, through your chest. And then as it reverses into the out-breath, track the out-breath too as it passes through the lungs, chest, throat, nostril, and then is ejected out of the nose. So track the entire body of the out-breath too. Now, if your mind has strayed off, it's wandering, just keep track of where your mind is. If it's seeing something, just note it as seeing, seeing. If it's hearing something, just note it as hearing, hearing. If it's imagining something, thinking about something, just note it as thinking, thinking. If it's meeting someone, note it as meeting, meeting. So just keep a track of where your mind is. So as you meditate, it's possible that you could experience different kinds of sensations in different parts of your body. There could be uncomfortable sensations, unpleasant sensations, or maybe even pleasant sensations. So observe those sensations first. So if there's warmth and that you experience in some part of your body, then note it as warm, warm. If there's stiffness, then you can note it as stiff, stiff. So make a note of these sensations. And there's a part of your mind that registers these sensations as either being pleasant or unpleasant or neutral. So that's the feeling aspect of your mind. You can note that too. If you experience warmth somewhere and it's particularly hot in your room, then that could be an unpleasant sensation. Or could be otherwise too. So just notice that either pleasant or unpleasant or neutral. And if there's some persistent discomfort in some part of your body, it's possible that you might want to relieve that unpleasant feeling, relieve that discomfort, release that discomfort. So note that mind which wants to, deal with that discomfort as wanting to relieve, wanting to release, maybe wanting to stretch your arm or leg or straighten your back. So that aspect of the mind which wants to do something is the volition aspect of your mind. Make a note of this type of mind too. And then if it initiates some course of action, stretching, bending or anything, just note that too. Stretching, stretching, bending, bending, extending, extending, straightening, straightening. So keep a note of what action you've initiated. Now use your mindfulness aspect of your mind to remind yourself of the object of focus, which is breath, and bring your mind back to the object of focus. Observe the breath. And while you're observing the breath, you note that these are just physical sensations in different parts of your body that you observe. And there's a relentless stream of this mental experiences, all kind of arising without the intervention of any outside agent. You can check if there's any kind of agent dictating it. You can also see if any of these moments abide for a significant duration, or if it is a mere stream of momentary experiences. And you bring the focus back to the in-breath and the out-breath. And with that concentrated mind, within that concentration, let's use the Bodhisattva prayer to set a proper motivation for the session. So I'll recite the Bodhisattva prayer. You can just reflect on its meaning. So I go for refuge to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly until I attain the state of enlightenment. So by the merits of my practice of giving and other perfections, may I attain the state of Buddhahood, complete enlightenment, complete Sambodhi, for the sake of all sentient beings. Okay, so all right, so as I said, we are discussing the text called Bodhicharya Avatara, authored by Acharya Shantideva. And just to give a outline of what the text is about, so it's got 10 chapters. The first 3 chapters of the Bodhicharya Avatara are essentially focused on helping a trainee with instructions on how to generate the mind of enlightenment or bodhicitta. So there are these first 3 chapters. And then the following 3 chapters, they kind of deal with conscientiousness, attentiveness, and patience. So chapter 6, as Deepthi had mentioned, that chapter deals with the practice of patience. So these 3 chapters then talk about instructions or present instructions on how one needs to, or the kind of practices one needs to engage in to ensure that your bodhicitta that you've cultivated does not decline. So these instructions are given in the 4th, 5th, and the 6th chapter. And then after this, the chapters, chapter number 7, 8, and 9, which deal with perseverance, meditative stabilization or concentration, and wisdom, the 9th chapter. These describe how bodhicitta can be continuously enhanced, continuously developed. And finally, there's the 10th chapter. It's the concluding chapter. That discusses how to share and dedicate this bodhicitta that has been generated, has been protected from decline, and has been gradually increasingly developed and enhanced. So those are the 10 chapters that that Acharya Shantideva has written in this text, Bodhicharya Avtara. So as you have realized, I mean, this entire book is about cultivating what is called bodhicitta and enhancing it. So what is so special about generating this mind? And even before that, what is your understanding of what this mind is? Do you have any kind of description of what this mind is? Anyone? What is the description? What is the definition of this mind? Anyone?
Venerable, can we say it's an altruistic mind or a primary mind that aspires to become a Buddha to benefit sentient beings?
Yeah, that's right. So that is the definition of this mind. So the definition presented by Arya Sangha in his text, Abhisamaya Alankar, also actually it's attributed to Buddha Maitreya. So that text defines bodhicitta as, says chittotpad, so the arising of the awakening mind, chittotpad, pararthai samyak sambodhi kamata. So chittotpad, pararthai samyak sambodhi kamata. So pararth is others' welfare. So pararthai, for others' welfare. Samyak sambodhi is complete enlightenment. So samyak sambodhi kamata. So kamata is an aspiration. So an aspiration to cultivate the state of perfect enlightenment, to obtain the state of perfect enlightenment. But what is the purpose? Pararthai. So for the sake of the welfare of other sentient beings, all sentient beings. So that is the definition of bodhicitta. So what makes this bodhicitta so special, and what is so unique about this? There are other mental attitudes that one can cultivate. And in fact, one is asked to cultivate, one is expected to cultivate. What is so special about bodhicitta? What are the other similar kinds of mental attitudes that one can cultivate? So there's compassion, of course. So there's compassion, and there's something called great compassion. Yeah. So you need to kind of make a distinction between those two. Then there's loving kindness. There's joy. So there's maitri, there's karuna, mahakaruna, mudit, upeksha, equanimity. So these are all different kinds of minds that one needs to cultivate in your pursuit of the final goal of enlightenment. But there's something special about the mind of enlightenment, bodhicitta, this altruistic mind that we've just spoken of or defined. So what makes it unique? And why is it so important to cultivate this mind? Any idea, any thoughts on that? Why is it important to cultivate this mind? Anyone? What makes it so critical? And why shouldn't we be content with just developing great compassion or just maitri, mahakaruna? Why should we, invest so much time and energy and resources in cultivating bodhicitta? Any thoughts? Anyone?
Because
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm just making a guess, is to get rid of ignorance
Yes.
and the ego.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Yeah.
getting rid of ignorance and ego kind of
Mhm.
linked, because the ignorance that Buddhism essentially, or the worst kind of ignorance that is the root of suffering, according to Buddhism, is this conception of an ego where no self exists. Yeah. So so a direct antidote to that kind of ignorance would actually be a wisdom in the aspect of a mind in the aspect of wisdom. Yeah.
Mhm.
So this is a different kind of mind. It's got, of course, a wisdom aspect to it also. But it is aspiring to attain the state of perfect wisdom or omniscience with a specific kind of purpose, which is to work for the welfare of other sentient beings. So yeah, in order to clear away ignorance and ego, I think cultivating the mind of emptiness, the wisdom of emptiness, that should suffice. Yeah. But according to the Buddhist texts, if we invest in a practice which essentially is focused on the cultivation of realization of the wisdom of emptiness, of course, that helps you clear away this root ignorance, which then clears away all your afflictive obscurations. Afflictions like attachment, aversion, pride, jealousy, and the rest, and this ego also that you've spoken about. And on the basis of the elimination of those afflictive obscurations, you attain a certain state of enlightenment, a different kind of enlightenment, which is called the state of a foe destroyer or an arhant. Yeah. But the texts, especially the tradition that we are following, they implore the practitioners to go beyond the attainment of this state, aspire for a more superior state, which is this state of omniscience. And in order to attain the state of omniscience, one cannot just be content with elimination of just the afflictive obscurations. You need to kind of clear away what is called the cognitive obscurations also, which are more subtle, and they are in the form of latencies, propensities in your mental continuum, which prevent you, obscure you from seeing the true nature of reality. And in order to do that, you need to cultivate both wisdom and accumulate a lot of merit. So that state of omniscience, that state of enlightenment, that kind of enlightenment requires you to invest in a slightly more enhanced kind of practice. And that enhancement is in the nature of, combining your practice of accumulation of wisdom with the cultivation of bodhicitta. So in order to attain the state of omniscience, one has to absolutely work on cultivating the attitude of this mind of enlightenment. So bodhicitta is an absolute must to advance on the path towards omniscience. Without the practice of bodhicitta, if you were to conduct your practice, you will accumulate the necessary wisdom to clear away your afflictive obscurations. But on the basis of that practice, you will only attain the state of what is called a Shravaka Arhant, a foe destroyer, or a Pratik Buddha Arhant. You won't be able to attain the state of a Buddha. So that explains one of the reasons why one should invest in the practice of cultivating the mind of enlightenment. Yeah. So any other opinion here? Anyone else wants to share your thoughts on why it is necessary to cultivate bodhicitta? Yeah,
Can I
Dipti,
go, Venerable?
yeah, Dipti.
Because of the very fact that it's not just me, that there are a lot of people around, and all of them are in the same samsaric rebirth, cycle of rebirth because of
Yes.
karma and delusions.
Yes.
For me to become enlightened by myself is impossible. I just can go up till I think nirvana.
Mm. Yeah. Right. Okay. I think my line may not
That
be
others too need to be freed from them. My line is
right.
bad. I'm sorry.
But
Your
could
I'm
be
voice
at
is
my
connected
end.
hanging.
by
Your
a
voice is
hotspot.
Yeah, you're right. So, working for the welfare of other sentient beings who are, in a way, in a similar state as we ourselves are, we know that suffering kind of describes our present state of being. And by suffering, you need not restrict yourself to the understanding of just physical and manifest mental suffering. There are other kinds of suffering that the Buddha spoke of, which are more subtle. There's what is called the suffering of change, a little subtler than the physical and mental manifest suffering. But more importantly, there's something called the all-pervasive conditioned suffering, which is our powerlessness against the forces of karma and afflictions, which create this situation where we are forever exposed or rather we are forever in danger of experiencing some or the other kind of suffering. So we understand that at our own level. We know that we are subject to those forces or those three different kinds of suffering. And just like we are exposed to those three different kinds of suffering, other sentient beings also are exposed to the very same forces. It would be kind of selfish to just aspire for a state of enlightenment which helps you release yourself from these three different kinds of suffering, but then leaves the others exposed to these forces of karma and afflictions. And those others include your dear ones, your immediate family members, your relatives, your friends, and of course the rest of the sentient kind, which you may not be instinctively kind of worried about, have any kind of instinctive concern for them. But there is a significant number of people beyond yourself who you have a genuine concern for, a sincere concern for. Those would be left behind. So in a way, aspiring for a state of individual liberation, disregarding the fact that they too need to be released from the cycle of suffering in samsara, and they need assistance and guidance and help in their pursuit. That is not a very, it's kind of a suboptimal aspiration. Yeah. So, yeah, Sangeeta, yeah.
Venerable, can we also talk about it in terms of dependent origination, saying that whatever I'm achieving or not achieving is because of so many people, so many causes and
Yes.
conditions, which
Yes,
are also making me even to reach the arhatship. So
absolutely.
considering that I can't like be alone and reach it, so that makes me interdependent, and then for that
Yes,
sake I repay the kindness of everyone, and from there bodhicitta arises.
that's right. Yeah. Yeah, that's a very important point that you brought up. In fact, that's the third aspect of this, uh, discussion on why it is necessary to invest your energies in cultivating bodhicitta. So this reality that we are all conditioned, that we are all dependently originated phenomena, uh, which kind of suggests that um, there's an aspect of interconnectedness amongst all the beings that inhabit the habitat that we are part of. But instinctively, our natural instinct is to kind of exclude and isolate and direct all the reserves and resources that we have to the maximization of the welfare of what we define as our own self or our extended self. So the extended self would include our family members and relatives. But even there, when there are difficult situations, you'll find that even within a family, um, there is a tendency to kind of, exclude other family members from, certain experiences where you believe that, your immediate concerns, your immediate welfare will get compromised if you work for the welfare of even your family members. In those situations, you'll just focus all your reserves and resources on maximizing your own welfare. But that is a little it goes against all aspects of reality, and some aspects of this reality we are aware of, but we just disregard it. And that's the kind of ignorance that Buddha has spoken about. So for example, we are so, yeah, Kritika, you have a question? Yeah.
Venerable, sorry to interrupt
Yeah,
you.
no.
And I don't know if this takes us into a different direction, but I had a question around this, that when you speak about this dependent origination, it makes so much sense. But I'm just wondering why we are not wired like that, right? Why are all of us wired from the beginning to be so self-centered, right? So it's I mean, when you explain it, it seems very logical, but somehow we're all conditioned and wired like that. So just wondering if it's a different topic in itself, or is there an easy answer to this?
Yeah, I'll give you a brief response to
Yeah.
that. We're not wired like that.
Okay.
So our primordial state of being, actually, Buddhism says that we have what is called the Tathagat Garbha, or the seed of enlightenment. So there's this, pristine, genuine purity that defines our being. But what's happened is, over a period of time, and it's a long time, we've taken like infinite rebirths in samsara and through our unwholesome actions. So what happens when you engage in an unwholesome action? Let's say you engage in the action of lying. That of course creates negative karma, but what it also does is enhances your predisposition to lie in similar situations in the future. So it plants what is called an imprint on your mind stream. And then you spoke about ego, right? So there's this conception of self that we have. And every time we engage in unwholesome actions, it is kind of rooted in this conception of self, an erroneous conception of self. So when you engage in all these unwholesome actions, the predisposition to lie, for example, that get enhanced. But even this conception of self that you have, even that keeps getting enhanced. And because of this enhancement, these imprints keep getting stronger. And through the force of these imprints, you in the future would keep grasping at the self where no self exists. And you'd keep kind of be pushed towards lie in situations where, lying is not necessary or is not optimal, is unwholesome. Because those predispositions, those imprints are very strong in your mental continuum. So these imprints are primordial state. The Tathagat Garbha is pristine. It's pure. It's like a clear mirror. Yeah, it can reflect reality the way it is. But then all these afflictions, these imprints, they've gathered on this mirror in the form of dust. And they kind of prevent us from accessing the true level of reality at its fundamental level. So because of the force of these obscurations, our mind is obscure from engaging with fundamental aspects of reality. Yeah. So it's not like we are wired to, disregard true aspects of reality. It's through the force of these obscurations, yeah, that we are obscured from accessing the true fundamental nature of reality. Okay, so as I said, instinctively kind of wired, maybe. No, I'm not seeing. Okay, So we have this very strong instinct through the force of these imprints to exclude others and just work on our own welfare. But even in places where we are concerned about our own welfare, for example, when we so cherish our physical person, and that's one of the main focus areas of our cherishing attitude. We know that our physical person is a very complex, interconnected system. Yeah. And if we were to kind of isolate and exclude parts, some specific organs of our physical person, and just work for the enhancement or the nourishment of those parts, what will happen? Your physical well-being will get compromised. You say, okay, I'm going to just work on improving my kidneys or just the lungs or just my muscular strength. But we know that that approach will not work if we just isolate and exclude and just work on individual parts. What works is something that benefits the whole physical being. Yeah. So you think about nutrients and forms of nourishment that can nourish the entire being. So we kind of invest in consuming physical nutrients, of course, material nutrients. But what actually works is more subtle kind of interventions. So if you invest in cultivating practices like yoga, which helps you harmonize all the internal energies. Yeah, that's a more fundamental kind of intervention that enhances the entire physical well-being, ensures that the entire physique is in a proper shape. So from your own experience, you know that any kind of attempt to exclude parts of something that you cherish and you want to enhance, and that would be counterproductive. Now extend that argument to the external environment that you're part of. The external environment that we're part of is also an interconnected system. It's come about through the forces of karma, where our individual karma is also in operation, but the karma of other sentient beings also who inhabit this habitat, that is also contributing to shape this environment. Yeah. So through the forces of this karma, there's something called collective karma or common karma. We created this habitat and we're part of this habitat. And if you're thinking about your own welfare, there's of course this internal well-being that I spoke about. But we are also exposed to other external conditions which could compromise your physical well-being. For example, you could be part of a habitat which is very earthquake prone, and that's a factor that is not entirely under your control. It would appear to be that way, but how it would be nice if you could create a habitat where you cleared away all these other unfavorable external conditions also. So what that would imply is that you need to kind of work for a collective well-being in that case. Yeah, because everything is interconnected. This habitat that you're part of, which also is responsible for your physical well-being, was created through the karmic contributions of other sentient beings also. So if you could put into play forces that could, ensure that unfavorable conditions like earthquakes and volcanoes were eliminated completely, you would then be part of a habitat where your physical well-being is not challenged by these external conditions. Yeah. And of course, that would also imply that other sentient beings also who are part of this habitat would also be free from the risks of these external conditions, unfavorable conditions. Now, when you talk about bodhicitta, it is about creating these kind of conditions, these kind of conditions. So you're talking about a larger benefit. You are talking about the entire society, the entire community, the entire sentient kind as a whole, and then thinking about even in order to ensure your own welfare, you have to kind of think about the welfare of the entire community, the entire sentient kind. So bodhicitta is essentially about that kind of a mindset. Yeah. So you're working for the welfare of other sentient beings, but in the process of doing that, you're also ensuring that your own welfare is guaranteed. It's ensured. So that understanding, of course, realization would come if you kind of spend a little time on understanding this concept of interconnectedness, which flows from the understanding of dependent origination. So when we make this prayer of bodhicitta, or we offer other prayers, all kinds of prayers are essentially about creating these kind of pure lands or pure fields which are free of all these impediments, these obstacles, for all sentient beings. Yeah, because that, of course, as a side effect, ensures your own well-being also. So that's another reason why one should invest in the cultivation of bodhicitta. And of course, all teachers, including Acharya Dipankar Atisha, who authored this text, which then became the root text for the Lamrim exposition or the Lamrim tradition. He says that bodhicitta is the core essence of the 84,000 different dharmas that the Buddha taught. So give away your concerns for this life. Just focus on cultivating love, compassion, and bodhicitta. So, that's how important he considers the practice of bodhicitta to be. So, how do you then cultivate bodhicitta? Yeah. So the first chapter talks about the different ways, and also it starts off by talking about the benefits of cultivating bodhicitta. So we spoke about a few benefits. Can you think about other benefits of cultivating bodhicitta? So there are different kinds of benefits. One benefit that we spoke about is it is kind of the entry point for any practitioner who is practicing the Mahayana paths, the culmination of which is the state of Buddhahood. So in order to attain the state of omniscience, one has to cultivate bodhicitta. That becomes the starting point. And then from that point on, you progress through the 5 different paths: the path of accumulation, preparation, path of seeing, meditation, and path of no more learning, which is the state of Buddhahood. So entry into the Mahayana paths is ensured only if you cultivate the mind of enlightenment or bodhicitta. Other benefits of cultivating bodhicitta. So the previous sessions actually spoke about the benefits. The verses discuss the benefits of cultivation of bodhicitta. Anything that you recollect from the previous discussions, previous sessions?
Venerable, can we say the ultimate objective is fearlessness and infinite happiness?
Yeah. So those are properties that describe the state of omniscience. Yes, so that is what we aspire for. Different kind of description of the state of omniscience. Yes. Yeah. Okay. Any other benefit that you can speak of? Okay, so if you cultivate bodhicitta, you create the conditions to amass or accumulate enormous accumulations of merit with ease. So, all of you must be doing some or the other form of spiritual practice. Some might even be doing practices which are very intricate and complicated. maybe practicing Tantra. Some might be doing simple practices like just recitation of mantras. So if you were to, engage in the practice of, in a tantric practice, let's say you're practicing Guhya Samaja Tantra and the completion stage of the Guhya Samaja Tantra. So you're kind of meditating on your subtle channels and the subtle pranas. Yeah. And let's say you advance in your practice and you harmonized all the flow of the pranas in your body. You're close to attaining perfecting the completion stage of the Guhya Samaj Tantra. But if your practice of the completion stage or the generation stage of Guhya Samaja Tantra were to be done without cultivating bodhicitta, then that practice at best can lead to in the attainment of the lower levels of arhanthood, maybe just liberation from samsara, not omniscience. So that practice devoid of bodhicitta would not be a cause for enlightenment. Yeah. Whereas if you were to engage in a simple practice like reciting the Mani Mantra, yeah, so you recite maybe one mala of Om Mani Padme Hum, a very simple practice. But if that is combined with cultivation of bodhicitta, then that practice becomes a proper Mahayana Dharma practice, and that practice becomes a definite cause for attainment of omniscience. Yeah. So just this impetus that bodhicitta provides to your spiritual practice. Without bodhicitta, even complicated practices like tantra would just give you lesser attainments. But with bodhicitta, even simple practices like reciting a Mani Mantra could become a definite cause for enlightenment. Yeah. So that's one of the benefits of cultivating bodhicitta.
Venerable,
Yes,
Venerable, can
Yeah,
I
yeah.
ask a question about merit?
Yeah.
So I always get confused with merit. Accumulation of merit for the sake of accumulation of merit, of accumulation, isn't that isn't that selfish? I mean, the way I see it is what you do out of sincerity, out of devotion, out of a desire to progress along the spiritual path. If that leads to the accumulation of merit, then that's great. But to go around, about and so many, times, like I've heard teachings where they say, and if you do this, then you will accumulate great merit. But it seems to me that that should just be a byproduct of what you do, and you should do what you do simply because you are convinced of the benefit of it, and not because it might give you merit or something.
Yeah. So you're right. I mean, accumulation of merit is that is the law of nature. You engage in a positive action, wholesome action. Let's say you engage in an act of generosity. You make a generous offering to some destitute person. That act, because of its positive qualities, will automatically generate a positive energy, merit, punya. Yeah. Whether you wish for it or you don't, yeah, it is automatically going to accrue merit, that virtuous action. And the opposite is also true. If you engage in unwholesome action, it creates a negative energy. Yeah. That is the law, that is the force of nature. I mean, we're not kind of responsible for that in any ways. When you're engaging in all these virtuous actions, you're right. If you're doing it just for the sake of, with the motivation that it will bring me some sort of a positive energy, which will enhance my life in a certain manner, in a material manner in the future, and that is not right. Yeah. But if you do it with the motivation that, it will clear away some of the obstacles that I may encounter in my pursuit of omniscience. You kind of defined a goal for yourself, yeah. Some sort of an aspiration for yourself, some destination, spiritual destination for yourself. And it is, there's nothing wrong in claiming that in order to attain that state of, that spiritual goal, you need to kind of invest in some manner. Yeah, you need to you need to bring forth some sort of an investment from your side. So the investment that we speak of is in the form of wisdom and merit. Yeah. So the spiritual goal is a virtuous goal, because that goal, you're not targeting that goal because you want to experience personal pleasure. You want to attain that goal so that you can assist other sentient beings. The self is not the focus. Yeah. What happens to the self is a byproduct of that motivation. So there's the law of karma that will ensure that there is merit, or maybe some sort of a negative energy if you engage in an unwholesome action. That you cannot negate. Yeah. What you're talking about is, if the motivation is colored by any kind of self goals for the self, yeah, self directed goals, then that is not optimal. That's right. But here, even the motivation is not colored by any kind of self directed goals. Yeah, the motivation is to work for the welfare of other sentient beings. Yeah, but you need to kind of come forth, provide some sort of you need to kind of create some sort of energies to attain that goal. I mean, that does not come freely to everybody. If that was the case, then everybody in this world could have an equal chance of attaining that state, and then people would be arbitrarily kind of attaining that state without creating the right causes. Yeah. So the causes for that state of omniscience are wisdom and merit. It has to have some causes. Yeah. It can't be uncaused. If it is uncaused, then it is arbitrary. Then it becomes too arbitrary. So the causes in our tradition are explained as merit and wisdom. Yeah. But you're creating those causes for a different purpose, for a more wholesome purpose, which is the welfare of all sentient beings. So I don't think there's anything wrong in kind of aspiring for the accumulation of merit. If the accumulation of merit is kind of done by motivation and it is self-directed, then that is wrong. Yeah. But bodhicitta is all about negating this self-cherishing attitude and replacing it with other cherishing attitude. So you have a cherishing attitude, you just change the referent of that attitude from self to others. So I don't think there's a problem here. Yeah.
So if I take someone's advice and recite some mantra for say 1,000 times, doesn't matter that I don't particularly want to recite it for 1,000 times, but I do it, and my only with bodhicitta being my ultimate goal, but the recitation I'm doing only for the purpose of accumulation of merit based on some valid authorities' advice, that's okay, and that will that will not be considered selfish. It is because I don't see why I should really recite something 1,000 times, but I'm taking someone's advice and someone whom I believe is a valid authority, and so then so the act will still get merit. It is not going to be considered as selfish or whatever, or just because I don't particularly see how I'm benefiting, but I'm just going ahead and saying, okay, let me do it because it is told to be done. That's okay, is it? So
okay,
that comes,
so a couple of things here.
If it is okay, then that's faith, right? It's not exactly
no. So you said your act is inspired by bodhicitta. So motivation is still rooted in bodhicitta.
Yes.
And you're doing that recitation, although you do not particularly want to do that recitation on that mantra.
I mean, I don't see the
I mean,
point
that
of
recitation of
doing
mantra
it for.
is just one kind of practice that you could do. Based on your disposition, a skillful teacher would be able to identify what, what kind of spiritual practices work for you. And then he may recommend something that you have an affinity towards. Yeah. So the act itself, recitation of the mantra, if done mechanically, of course, it's not going to yield the kind of benefit that it would if it is motivated by bodhicitta. But in your case, you're saying that it is motivated by bodhicitta. It's just that the mantra that you have been asked is not something that you have a particular affinity towards, which you can discuss with the teacher and then tell him. And then usually when these kind of recommendations are made, the teacher also kind of checks what mantras or what kind of practice would be more beneficial for you. So I'll also, let's take the other example. If you were to engage in an act of generosity and you make a generous offering to somebody who needs it, we'll just take a 5-minute break in maybe a couple of minutes after I answer this question, and then we'll reassemble again. So if you engage in that act of generosity, one way to do it, and a lot of people engage in acts of charity for motives which are not entirely optimal or entirely noble. But even in that case, I think that act is commendable, it is praiseworthy, because it is helping somebody else, it will create a positive energy. But if it is motivated by a sincere kind of motivation, like bodhicitta, then it would be far more potent, both at the level of the person who is making the offering and also the recipient of that offering. So in both cases, it will be more potent. Yeah, but the act itself is virtuous. Act itself is virtuous. Yeah, so it will create some sort of positive energy. It's just the intensity, the level of the positive energy that you set into motion, that is driven by the motivation that you initiate that action with. Okay, so let's take a 5-minute break and we'll assemble again. Yeah, is
I
that
think
okay, Dipti?
Sangeeta wants to say something.
Okay, yeah, Sangeeta, yeah.
Yeah, so just taking Madhavi's thing a bit further, being a lay person, I don't have a kind of a dedicated teacher as such. I follow some retreats, I follow Geshe Dorji Dam, those retreats and things like that. So some of my Sangha members, so one is about frustrations, they do this non-ro, doing some 10,000, 20,000, they have this goal of making so many frustrations. And then some of them have suddenly from, the sutra side have started attending Dzogchen and Mahamudra. And so it's kind of, I'm presently in a state slightly confused, thinking, yeah, there is a lot of stuff. I started off with Goenka ji's Vipassana, then I moved to Mahayana over the last few years and I've been studying it. But I suddenly see these people who don't have really a dedicated teacher guiding them, but they are into Dzogchen and Mahamudra, teachings and meditation. So do you have some kind of advice on this, how to go about it? I mean, there's a little confusion in my mind. Sorry, it's
No,
slightly off track.
no, it's always um, very beneficial if you rely on some proper guide. Yeah. And again, by proper guide, it's something that you need to uh, do a lot of investigation on, and then identify who could be a proper guide, and then let that guide, decide what kind of practices would be beneficial for you. So especially these tantric practices, Dzogchen, Mahamudra, and all that needs a lot of handholding by a spiritual mentor. Yeah, so those kind of practices, it's better to engage in those practices uh, in consultation with some sort of a spiritual mentor. The sutra teachings like bodhicitta and all, you don't even need to be a Buddhist to practice these kind of instructions. Yeah, to incorporate these instructions in your conduct. But with the tantric practices, you need to be a little more careful, and it's always beneficial to kind of do your practices in consultation with some sort of spiritual mentor. Yeah.
Okay, so presently I've just been trusting my inner guru. So if it is Tantra, you're saying yes, I should look for a outer
Yeah,
guru.
it will be better. It will be better. Yeah. And all these practices, including the preliminary practices that you referred to, or recitation of mantras, mechanically, if they're done mechanically, of course, the benefit is not as significant as it would be in case you kind of combine or fuse these practices with proper motivations like bodhicitta. But nevertheless, you still kind of create some merit through through your engagement in these practices. And there's always a lot of mental preparation that one needs to do when we do these practices. So when you're prostrating also, there's a very specific kind of mental preparation that one needs to do. When you're offering a butter lamb, there's a specific mental preparation that one needs to do. Or when you pay homage to a teacher or your gurus or to the three jewels of refuge, using your speech through the chanting of mantras, there's a specific kind of mental preparation that one needs to do. So if done with the proper kind of mental preparation, if done with the right kind of motivation, these are very potent practices. Yeah, we should not kind of ignore these practices. A lot of people who come to me, when I take them around Bailagupe, I make it a point to show them how the elderly Tibetans conduct their daily routine. They go around these holy objects, just circumambulating, chanting, prostrating, and rotating prayer wheels. On the face of it, it looks like all mechanical stuff. It's just
Ritual.
being done. But you don't know internally what that person is. The mental preparation that is investing in those practices. And even if done mechanically, there is some benefit there. Yeah. But of course, we need not be kind of content with doing it mechanically. We can always investigate investigate and then identify what kind of mental preparation we need to do to engage in these practices. Yeah. Okay, so let's
Thank
take
you.
a 5-minute break. Dipti will maybe assemble at 11:27, 28 or something like that. Yeah. Okay. See you in 5 minutes. Okay, so let's begin. All right, so we're talking about the benefits of cultivating bodhicitta. So I'll just quickly run through the different kinds of benefits that the present text speaks about. The important ones. Yeah? So one can accumulate enormous amounts of merit with ease. Yeah? So if your actions are motivated by the bodhicitta mind, any virtue that we create, any virtuous action that we engage in will bring the same amount of benefit as the total number of sentient beings. So you're motivated by bodhicitta, where you want to work for the welfare of all sentient beings. So any act, virtuous act, let's say a generous act of making an offering to somebody, would bring merit, which is the equivalent of making the same kind of offering to all the sentient beings in the world. And then there's a continual flow of virtue, as in, especially if you have taken the bodhicitta vows. Yeah. So even while you're asleep or you're negligent, the bodhicitta or any virtuous state of mind is not manifest in your mind stream at that moment. Even then, there's a continual flow of virtue. And like a living tree, bodhicitta continues to give fruit and grow. It leads to inexhaustible merit. So if we were to be generous without bodhicitta to hundreds of thousands of sentient beings for hundreds of thousands of eons, and fill the billionfold world systems with jewels, the karma that results from this kind of generous act would eventually come to an end. It would not be a deed that becomes a cause for Buddhahood if it is devoid of bodhicitta. But with bodhicitta, even the most minor of virtuous acts leads to enormous amount of merit, which exceeds the merit that you would accumulate through this kind of a generous deed. So even a simple act of generosity like giving food to an animal, when it is motivated by bodhicitta, it would lead to results that never end, never gets exhausted. And it will become a cause for Buddhahood. The other benefit of cultivating bodhicitta is that you can purify your past transgressions, your sins, your obscurations. It's an important practice, aspect of your practice. The obstacles that we encounter, even though we have set ourselves very noble goals, they're not going to be free of obstacles. Even high ground bodhisattvas sometimes face obstacles. We are novices in relation to them. We are bound to face obstacles. Now, those obstacles manifest because of the negative karma that we have engaged in the past and the imprints that they have left behind. We need to kind of purify those. And there are a lot of purification practices, and we studied some of these purification practices. You studied the purification practice of reliance on the 4 R's, the 4 reliances. But the most effective way to clear away your sins and obscurations, your transgressions and infractions, is by cultivating this mind of enlightenment. So it destroys one's sins, it eliminates the karmic imprints. So it's better to meditate on bodhicitta for just one session than to try for 100 years to purify our sins, our infractions, obscurations by some other means, divorced from this mind. So that's another major benefit. One accomplishes one's spiritual wishes or other kinds of wishes also. So if we want to be rid of obstacles like sickness, etc., I just spoke of that. We want to have greater abilities. We need to invest in cultivating this bodhi mind. So, of course, we will achieve the highest thing, which is the state of omniscience. But along the way, we'll also succeed in attaining minor kind of abilities, minor spells at the very least. So that's another benefit. we are not disturbed by any kind of hindrances or harms that could come our way from both human and non-human elements in our environment. So there's a lot of hindrance that comes our way from non-human elements, interference. So if you cultivated bodhicitta, then these harms and hindrances are eliminated. That's another benefit. Or you can complete the path and its levels. So in the path to path of the Mahayana paths to attain the state of Buddhahood and the different levels that you need to progress through. If your practice is devoid of bodhicitta, one can only complete the accumulation of wisdom on the basis of which you will attain maybe a minor form of enlightenment. But with bodhicitta, you are able to clear away even the cognitive obscurations. Yeah. And hence you are able to attain the ultimate state of enlightenment. And we often speak about the Vajrayana vehicle being a more efficient vehicle to actualize the state of enlightenment. And we can actualize that state in one lifetime if your practice is rooted in bodhicitta. So even there, the root is bodhicitta. And of course, you become a source of happiness and joy for other beings. So as I mentioned, bodhicitta is the essence of all the different kinds of dharmas taught by the Buddha in different sutras. So even the superiority of the secret tantras is due to bodhicitta. Yeah. So bodhicitta is the determinant cause for Buddhahood, whereas wisdom, the wisdom of impermanence and wisdom of emptiness, these are indeterminate causes for the three types of enlightenment, which is the Shravaka enlightenment of Arhanthood, the Shravaka Arhanthood, the Pratyek Buddha Arhanthood, and the Buddhahood. So wisdom, if it is combined with bodhicitta, becomes a cause for Buddhahood. Devoid of bodhicitta, it will just yield you the lesser forms of enlightenment. So these are the different benefits. If you can think about other benefits, just let me know. But these are the benefits that are discussed in the text, yeah, in the preceding verses. So verse number 16 in the text. Do you have a copy of the text, or do you want me to share it online? Yeah. Does everyone have a copy of the text you can refer to?
Yes, last class Alice had shared. So
Okay. Yeah, if you have it, it would be better. Otherwise, I can read the verses and you can kind of just listen. Okay, so verse number 17 is what we're going to start from. So verse number 16 speaks about two different kinds of bodhicitta. So what are the two different kinds of bodhicitta? Anyone remembers from the previous discussion?
aspiring
Venturing
bodhicitta.
and
Yes.
venturing.
Yeah, that's right. Aspiring and venturing, yeah. So verse number 17 says, although great fruits occur in cyclic existence from the mind that aspires to awaken, an uninterrupted flow of merit does not ensue as it does with the venturing mind. So the venturing mind is the engaging bodhicitta. So there are definite benefits of cultivating what is called the aspiring bodhicitta. So you know the difference between aspiring bodhicitta and engaging bodhicitta. So aspiring bodhicitta is simply the wish to attain enlightenment for all beings, the desire to pursue this path. Yeah. So that is aspiring bodhicitta. Venturing bodhicitta would then combine this aspiration with a vow of bodhicitta and then ensure that the vow does not degenerate. And within that state, combine that with the practice of the other perfections, the six perfections of generosity, ethical discipline. Then you have perseverance, patience, meditative stabilization, and wisdom. So, you need to kind of take the vow of bodhicitta, and that makes your bodhicitta venturing bodhicitta or engaging bodhicitta. So application begins with taking the vow of bodhicitta and promising to put it into action. So the good qualities of even aspiration bodhicitta are immense. While abiding in samsara, there is persistent increase in one's experience of happiness or joy, or pleasant experiences, in the form of maybe things like higher rebirth. If you have aspiring bodhicitta, if you cultivated aspiring bodhicitta, the benefits of engaging bodhicitta. So the aspiring bodhicitta is, you could call it pranidhi bodhicitta, and engaging bodhicitta is prasthan bodhicitta. And its benefits are that even in the absence of any kind of virtuous manifest virtue state in your mental continuum, or even in inert states like when you're sleeping, even during these neutral mental states, there is an uninterrupted flow of virtue, an uninterrupted accumulation of merit. This does not happen with aspiring bodhicitta. So it's the same with vows. You engage in the act of not lying, refraining from lying, without a vow and with a vow. So if you've taken the vow, even when you're not actively engaged in this virtuous action of refraining from lying, even there you will accumulate the merit of not lying. Whereas without the vow, only in situations where this motivation, this mental state is manifest, only at that time will you accrue merit. So with vows, there's an uninterrupted flow of virtue and accumulation of merit. Yeah. So that's the benefit of cultivating prasthana bodhicitta. So this is verse number 17. Verse number 18 and 19, they kind of speak about the same thing. So verse number 18 says, and for him who has perfectly seized this mind, with the thought never to turn away from totally liberating the infinite forms of life, from that time hence, even while asleep or unconcerned, a force of merit equal to the sky will perpetually ensue. So, same thing that we just spoke of. So, having ascertained that to attain enlightenment, we need to engage in the Bodhisattva's deeds and conduct. If one resolves to engage in the Bodhisattva's conduct to liberate the countless sentient beings without exception, and generates an irreversible sincere resolve, combines it with a vow, thereafter, even if one is in sleep or in a relatively heedless kind of neutral mental state, one benefits from an uninterrupted accumulation of merit equal to the sky. So this is verse number 18 and 19. Verse number 20 says, for the sake of those inclined towards the lesser vehicle, this was logically asserted by the Tathagat himself in the sutra requested by Subahu. So the Buddha, of course, is working for the welfare of all sentient beings, and that includes those beings who are either kind of practicing the lesser vehicle, lesser in the sense that it is aspiring for individual liberation and not for the state of omniscience. And it's in relation to that spiritual aspiration that you can call a certain vehicle as a lesser vehicle and some other vehicle as a greater vehicle. So if you are aspiring for the greater goal of omniscience so that you can help other sentient beings, that is what makes that vehicle a greater vehicle. But if you're just aspiring for individual liberation, that vehicle would be called lesser vehicle. But the wisdom that you need to cultivate on both paths is the same. You need to cultivate wisdom of emptiness on either path to actualize the ultimate enlightenment of that particular vehicle. So the Buddha is, of course, working for householders, for the welfare of householders, for monastics, for arhants, for Shravaka arhants, for Pratyabuddha arhants, for everybody. So there could be that category of spiritual practitioners who believe that individual liberation is the only possible spiritual goal that I can target. And there is that thought that not all sentient beings are capable of attaining the state of omniscience. It's a different kind of lineage. So the Buddha lineage is different, and I'm not blessed with that lineage at the moment, and hence I can target only individual liberation. For the other goal, you need to be born in a different lineage. So that thought is there. So if you are inspired by that thought, you're inclined towards the lesser vehicle, but maybe you're not kind of determined to actualize the ultimate goal of that vehicle. You're not kind of destined. You're inclined, but you're not destined to actualize the ultimate goal of that vehicle. Then, to inspire such practitioners, the Buddha gave instructions in this sutra called the Subbahu Paripricha Sutra, or Questions of Subbahu Sutra. In order to inspire these kind of practitioners to reverse the inclination towards the lesser vehicle, towards individual liberation, he spoke about the immense benefits of cultivating bodhicitta. So we spoke about some of the benefits. So in this sutra also he's highlighted a lot of benefits of cultivating bodhicitta. So that's verse number 20. Verse number 21 and 22. If even the thought to relieve living creatures of merely a headache is a beneficial intention, endowed with infinite goodness, then what need is there to mention the wish to dispel the inconceivable misery, wishing every single one of them, to realize boundless good qualities. So this is verse number 21 and 22. So what does it say? So if one wishes for all sentient beings, countless sentient beings, equaling the vast infinite space, to be freed from all forms of suffering, all of their suffering, and not just some particular type of suffering. And one wishes for them to realize all the perfect qualities of an enlightened Buddha. Then there is unlimited, inconceivable merit that accrues to that person. So he just kind of trying to describe the mind of enlightenment of bodhicitta. Even in kind of ordinary deeds, where one wishes that sentient beings be free from physical suffering, the suffering of headache, for example, that leads to infinite goodness. Just that beneficial intention, that virtuous intention. If on top of that you were to kind of wish that all sentient beings be free from all kinds of suffering, suffering of change, and pervasive conditioned suffering, and all sentient beings, not just one. And on top of that, if that person were to be able to realize the perfect qualities of an enlightened Buddha, if that's the aspiration, that's the wish, that's the intention that you have, then that leads to inconceivable merits. So this is the meaning of the verses 21 and 22. Verse number 23 says, do even fathers and mothers have such a benevolent intention as this? Do the gods and sages, does even Brahma have it? So there are all different kinds of planes and realms that sentient beings are born into. So there are these planes in the desire realm. So there are three different realms. There's the desire realm, which we are part of, along with animals, hungry ghosts, and hell beings. But there are also certain kinds of gods, devas, that are born in the desire realm, because they haven't given up their desire, affliction of desire. And then on top of that, there's something called the form realm, or the Roop Lok, where beings who've given up desire are born into through the power of their meditative samadhis or absorptions. So these, some of these planes are called the Brahma planes. And the gods that are born here are called as Brahma Devas. Yeah. So do the gods and the sages who inhabit these higher planes, do they have this kind of a virtuous, benevolent mind? Do even your parents, fathers and mothers, have these kind of a benevolent intention towards their children. Yeah. So if you cultivate a wish that all countless sentient beings equaling the vast infinite space, they are free from suffering and happiness, and you wish for them to be established in the exalted state of Buddhahood. Now, this wish, you need to strive very hard, and if you continue to strive, however hard that might be, and however long it may take, then you'll, of course, benefit from an inconceivable amount of merit. So to cultivate this kind of a mind is extremely difficult and rare. It's extremely difficult. Even parents cannot cultivate a similar mental attitude toward their child. Of course, we spoke about the gods. So do you agree? Can they generate a similitude of this kind of a mind towards the child? Or is it restricted, limited? And if it is restricted and limited, in what respect is it limited?
Well, if the parents are caught up in samsara, then, which many of us are, then our wish for our children is also a very samsaric oriented wish. And we completely miss the point that they are not served by that wish. So
that's right. Yeah. So it does appear to me that even our parents' compassion, benevolence towards the children, that's kind of restricted in some aspects. There are some limitations. It's not as unqualified as this attitude of bodhicitta that we're speaking about. So verse number 23 says that it's difficult for this kind of an attitude to be matched by even parents or even the gods and sages and brahmas. It's very difficult. Just give me a second. Chik marta di mampu erda pagi. Mi mampu er.
Katiota.
Pe mampu erda. Natu sere. Kata natu nes.
Saturday lasso.
Kisho. Di dog is Shimba Martha. Okay, so that's verse number 23. Then verse number 24. If those beings have never before even dreamt of such an attitude. So who are these beings that we're referring to? Gods, sages, brahmas. See, even if those beings have never before even dreamt of such an attitude for their own sake, how would it ever arise for the sake of others? So the gods, even gods like Brahma and Indra, widely known in this universe, are unable to cultivate an altruistic mind like that. Why is that? Even for their own sake, by virtue of their timidity, by virtue of their general lack of courage, they are unable to generate an aspiration for. Just give me a moment. Hey, Vishwa. Yeah, thank you. Go on up to an issue that you looked at it.
Up to looking that.
Cause look, no look.
Not that she come. Didn't look in the lot.
Sorry about that. Yeah. So even gods, even for their own sake, they find it difficult to generate an aspiration which is similar to that of bodhicitta. An aspiration to attain the state of enlightenment because of their timidity, because of their lack of courage. They do not feel inspired to cultivate the causes to attain this enlightened state of Buddha, which is free of all flaws and endowed with all perfections. it would be very difficult for them to cultivate a mind that wishes to establish all sentient beings equaling the vast infinite space in that state of enlightenment. They can't do it for themselves, because of their own obscurations. It's difficult for them to generate this kind of a mental attitude. Yeah. So that's verse number 24. Verse number 25. This intention to benefit all beings, which does not arise in others, even for their own, is an extraordinary jewel of the mind, and its birth is an unprecedented wonder. So difficult to generate this kind of a mind. Even for their own sake, they do not aspire for the state of enlightenment, let alone cultivating a mind that wishes to establish all sentient beings in the state of enlightenment. So if a mind like this were to arise, be produced, be generated, be born in your mental continuum, then it would be very wonderful. It would be marvelous if we were able to cultivate this mind, which did not previously kind of exist in our continuum. So that's verse number 25.
Venerable.
Yeah.
So what kind of mind would someone in the Brahma realm be trying to cultivate?
Okay, so
Or the formless realm, if that's the same, the
yeah,
Brahma realm.
Kalden gyune re lapta. Gin Kalden gyune re lapta san.
Gilagyu.
Tangan nyam tu chi phyta. Gin Kalden tang ye gyune res lapta. Hatsudo dun rewa. Yeah. Re. So, those beings who aspire to be reborn in the Brahma realms are essentially kind of inspired by their desire or their wish to experience the bliss of meditative absorptions. So there's different kinds of meditative samadhis that one cultivates. So in the formless realm, you take up meditative objects in the form of infinite space or infinite consciousness. Those are the objects that you take, and you cultivate a certain kind of meditative samadhi, and you're born in those planes. And then based on what samadhi you cultivated, you could be either experiencing some bliss of meditative absorption, or you could be abiding in a state of equanimity, because that's what you desire, that's what you kind of wish for. But you're not inspired by the goal of the spiritual goal of wanting to attain the state of omniscience. Yeah. But but even a practitioner who wants to attain the state of enlightenment needs to cultivate some of these samadhis. Yeah, because you need uh, for you to accumulate wisdom, you need to have cultivated both shamatha and vipassana. You need to have perfected shamatha and vipassana. So if you have perfected these, you need in order to perfect these, you need to need the aid of one of these higher RAM meditative absorptions. Yeah, but the practitioner will be motivated by bodhicitta. So he will cultivate these meditative absorptions, but not to abide in the bliss of these absorptions, not to abide in the equanimity of these that you experience in these absorptions. Yeah. Okay. So, verse number 26, how can I fathom the depths of the goodness of the jewel of the mind, the panacea that relieves the world of pain and is the source of all its joy? So, the merit that accrues from bodhicitta, the mind that is the the substantial cause to attain the provisional spiritual goals of even higher rebirth, or even ultimate spiritual goal of complete enlightenment for oneself. This bodhicitta, the merit that accrues from this kind of bodhicitta, which is kind like a nectar or some kind of a medicine that pacifies the suffering of all sentient beings, equaling space. The merit that accrues from bodhicitta, which is a jewel that cherishes others over oneself. You've kind of abandoned your self-cherishing attitude and replaced it with other cherishing attitude. So the merit that accrues from this kind of a mind is inestimable. You cannot kind of, define it in some sort of a measure. It's inestimable. So this mind that we've cultivated, it exhibits 4 special kind of characteristics, and the merit that accumulates on the basis of this mind also exhibits 4 different distinct kinds of properties. So what are the 4 distinguishing features of this mind of enlightenment? The first one is object. So the object of bodhicitta it is complete enlightenment, or samyak sambodhi, the perfect awakening of a Buddha. Not just personal liberation or some sort of a peaceful state that we just spoke of, peaceful state of some meditative absorption. So the object is complete enlightenment. So that's the first distinguishing feature. The second distinguishing feature is its intention. So the motivation is the wish to attain Buddhahood, not for oneself, but for the benefit of all beings. Then the third distinguishing characteristic or feature is that of support. So the supporting condition for bodhicitta is great compassion. So we spoke about these different kinds of minds, karuna, mahakaruna, mudita, and then upeksha, maitri. So the supporting condition for bodhicitta is mahakaruna, a heart or a mind that is moved by others' suffering and wishes that others be free from suffering and its causes. So that is the support. That is the third distinguishing feature. And the fourth distinguishing feature is that of action. So it's not sufficient to just cultivate a wish, but it needs to be combined with the practice of the 6 perfections of generosity, ethics, patience, diligence, concentration, and wisdom. So this kind of a mind, which has these distinguishing features, is what makes bodhicitta unique and a reason for this accumulation of inestimable merit. And this merit also has different kinds of qualities, distinguishing features. So there's continuous growth of this merit. So if you engage in ordinary virtue, the ordinary virtue yields merit, which grows only when cultivated intentionally. But when you cultivate bodhicitta, the merit that is born from bodhicitta, that grows continuously, day and night, even during sleep or distraction, as long as the bodhicitta remains in your mind stream. It leads to immeasurable, inexhaustible results. The results of this merit is limitless, leading not merely to worldly happiness or rebirth in heavens, in the higher planes, but ultimately to complete Buddhahood. So it transcends any kind of finite karmic fruition. It is irreversible, this merit. So the merit from bodhicitta is not destructible. So we've often kind of heard or spoken of how moments of anger can destroy your merit that you accumulated in the past. But if the merit that accrues to you from the cultivation of bodhicitta is indestructible, it is not reversible, it cannot be lost or destroyed by anger, pride, or other similar kind of negative emotions. It is safeguarded by compassion and wisdom. And there's constant kind of immeasurable increase in the merit that arises from bodhicitta. The merit increases endlessly, even when one does not consciously remember this mental state. So these are the 4 distinguishing features of the merit that accrues from bodhicitta. So that's verse number 26. Verse number 27, it says, if merely a benevolent intention excels venerating the Buddhas, then what need to mention striving to make all beings without exception happy? So if one cultivates this mind that wishes to benefit all sentient beings, it brings immense merit, as we've seen. Even the mere wish could bring immense merit. So even aspirational bodhicitta will bring in a lot of merit. But if one is in actuality striving to benefit sentient beings, countless sentient beings, equaling the infinite space, by freeing them from suffering and its causes and establishing them in the causes of happiness, then it leads to inconceivable merit. So it's a point that is being repeated through different kinds of verses. So the verse says that a mere benevolent intention, just a mere wholesome, generous intention can excel the action of venerating the Buddhas. I'm assuming this is done mechanically. So if that is the case, then an expansive intention like the intention to benefit all sentient beings, that the kind of merit that accrues from it, that is exceptional, that is immeasurable, that is inestimable. So then what need to mention striving to make all beings without exception happy? So that's verse number 27. Verse number 28 reads, although wishing to be rid of misery, they run towards misery itself. Although wishing to have happiness, like an enemy, they ignorantly destroy it. So this kind of describes our state of being, our practice. So we want to rid ourselves of misery, but we keep creating the causes for misery. So we keep running towards misery itself. We want to have happiness and be free from suffering, but the causes that go, or rather create, these conditions of freedom from suffering and happiness, we destroy those causes like an enemy because we're ignorant about these causes. So anyone who experiences, some temporary peace, some temporary comfort, some temporary pleasure, although that person wants to be free from suffering, wishes freedom from suffering, by being ignorant about the cause of suffering, by not knowing the cause of suffering, because the person has not investigated it, or even if that person knows the cause, because of excessive habituation towards that cause of suffering, that person then engages with that cause of suffering and then sets into motion a new form of suffering. Yeah. Although that person may wish happiness, by virtue of not knowing the cause of happiness, or even if the person knows the cause, due to lack of fortitude, due to lack of courage, and the inability to strive and persevere for that happiness or the causes of that happiness, due to insufficient effort, even though that person wishes peace and happiness, due to all these shortcomings and due to the force of delusion, ignorance, that person ends up destroying his own happiness, his or her own happiness. That person ends up destroying one's own happiness, his or her own happiness, believing, or just the way he or she would destroy an identified enemy. So he kind of sets into motion the same kind of energies that he or she sets into motion to destroy an identified enemy. So that being the case, that is what describes the state of being of all sentient beings. They're ignorant about all the wishing suffering. They're wishing freedom from suffering. They're ignorant about the causes that would yield freedom from suffering. Although wishing happiness, they're ignorant about the causes that yield happiness. Yeah. So for these kind of ignorant sentient beings, we need to adopt a sense of responsibility. We need to take up responsibility for their welfare and then strive for it. So this is the verse number 28. Verse number 29 and 30. For those who are deprived of happiness and burdened with many sorrows, it satisfies them with all joys, it being bodhicitta, and dispels all suffering and clears away all delusion or confusion. Where is there a comparable virtue? Where is there even such a friend? Where is there merit similar to this? So again, highlighting the qualities of bodhicitta. So for those who are deprived of happiness and those who are burdened with all kinds of sorrows, it satisfies them with different kinds of joys and transcendental joys and dispels all the suffering and clears away all the delusion and confusion. So, so a person who has realized the true nature of one's own suffering and its causes. So remember that the rest of the sentient kind, are not very well versed with the causes of suffering and the causes that go to yield happiness. So you have studied your own state of being, and you know that it is characterized by suffering. So you understand suffering. You've studied your own suffering and its causes. You've studied what creates happiness for you and what are the causes of this kind of happiness. And you have produced a pure mind that strives to clear away the darkness of delusion that obscures a person from discerning the discipline, the specific adopt or abandon or restrain or refrain kind of regime in the mental continuum, or which is appropriate for the mental disposition of sentient beings. So with that kind of knowledge, one has produced a mind that aspires for others' welfare. And that kind of mind will receive inestimable merit. And there's no other mind that draws this kind of merit. There's absolutely no other mind that you can think about which can create this kind of merit. So this kind of mind that strives for others' benefit is also seen as a genuine friend, a genuine savior of all sentient beings. And again, there's no other mind other than bodhicitta that can be this kind of a durable, enduring, unchanging savior. A regular friend, we have lots of friends. A regular friend does not possess this quality of being durable. There are moments when, a person you deem to be a friend at the moment could become your foe in the future. Yeah. So not durable. But bodhicitta is a durable friend, a durable savior. So bodhicitta, which has this property of being equanimous towards all sentient beings, it is mind that wishes to benefit all sentient beings. It abides unchangingly in a mental continuum, unchangingly for an infinite duration, as long as space endures. So with these kind of qualities, it is natural that we deem this mind to be a great savior. And there's no greater friend, there's no better savior. There's no other mind with a greater or a better ability to accumulate merit. So that's verses number 29 and 30. There's verse number 31. It reads, if whoever repays a kind deed is worthy of some praise, then what need to mention the Bodhisattva who does good without its being asked of him. So very often somebody engages in a very wholesome act where he recollects the kindness of some other person, and then out of sincere gratitude for that beneficial act, he engages in an act which repays the kindness of that benefactor. So these kind of actions are considered praiseworthy. So how much more praiseworthy would it be if someone who has produced bodhicitta, who has not benefited previously from any specific particular act of kindness from other, resorts to a mind that wishes to benefit others, although he's not urged to do so. Yeah. Just 1 second. Constant interruption from my mentee. Yeah. Okay, so that's verse number 31. Yeah. Verse number 32. So I think we'll just there are 2-3 more verses. We'll finish those verses and we'll stop with that. Yeah. So verse number 32 says, the world honors as virtuous a man who sometimes gives a little plain food disrespectfully to a few beings, that satisfies them only for only half a day. So this is something that we see often in our society also. In there are all kinds of charitable acts. Some of these acts are indeed all these charitable acts are of course commendable, praiseworthy. But some of these acts may not be kind of, and these acts are kind of motivated by a range of motives, where different kinds of motives, and not all of these motives could be considered wholesome. But nevertheless, these acts are commendable; they're praiseworthy. So even if someone were to give a small fixed number of destitute recipients inferior things like some very ordinary kind of food, uh, for maybe just one time, a single serving of food and drink, and that too he does it with contempt. Um, but even this act is praised by others. Yeah, and we find that in our society very regularly. Even these kind of acts are praised by others, saying, "Oh, how wonderfully virtuous! Today, this person has generously offered food to the poor and the destitute." So the motivation is not kind of examined. Of course, one is not aware of the motivation, but in some cases, the motivation could be evident. But even where you know that the motivation is not pure, is not wholesome, where the generous act is kind of done with a lot of contempt, uh, even there we kind of deem it appropriate to kind of praise that act of charity. So, what need to speak about a virtuous act which is inspired by bodhicitta? So that's verse number 32. Verse number 33 says, "What need be said then of one who eternally bestows the peerless bliss of the Sugatas upon limitless numbers of beings, thereby fulfilling all their hopes?" So compare the previous situation with this virtuous act inspired by bodhicitta, where the recipients are countless, where what is being offered is wholesome and pure, uh, and where the motivation is entirely genuine and sincere. So, with bodhicitta, you would be targeting extensive fields, countless sentient beings, infinite realms. And in terms of time, it's not restricted, it's not an one-off event. You engage in virtuous acts inspired by bodhicitta for as long as space endures, infinite time. In terms of the object that is offered, it is particularly excellent. The intention that drives this action, intention is to establish all these countless sentient beings in the ground endowed with infinite and boundless qualities of the body, speech, and mind of the Sugatas. The Sugatas are the Tathagats or the Buddhas. And the mind that has the ability to accomplish the desired purpose or benefit for all sentient beings. So, what need is there to mention the constant giving of these good actions, these benefits through good actions, through love, through respect, and sweet speech, as contrasted with the previous situation where we spoke about a situation where somebody with contempt makes a charitable offering of very ordinary food to a very limited number of people at and one-off event with an unwholesome motivation in intention. You know, compare that with this situation where the bodhisattva with the bodhicitta aspiration intention is aspiring to place all the countless sentient beings in all the different realms, in infinite realms, infinite worlds, in extensive fields, in the past, in the present, in the future, as long as space endures, with the bodhicitta intention, place them in the grounds of habited, or endowed with the infinite and boundless qualities of the body speech, the pure body speech and mind of the Tathagats. Yeah. So it's immeasurably pure. So what need is there to say that it will lead to unimaginable benefits to those who sincerely wish to bestow upon all sentient beings such a state of Buddhahood, which inexhaustibly fulfills all their desires. So this is verse number 34, verse number 33, verse number 34. The Buddha said that whoever bears an evil thought against the benefactor, such as that Bodhisattva, will remain in hell for as many eons as there were evil thoughts. So it's a point that comes up in our discussion quite regularly. So if one cultivates this bodhicitta and strives to establish sentient beings in happiness, to benefit them, so towards such a bodhisattva, a person with bodhicitta in his mind stream, if someone ignorant and lacking restraint, and someone under the influence or enslaved to the forces of attachment and aversion, where to direct some sort of physical or verbal abuse. So that action is, immeasurably negative. If even the mere manifesting of a hostile intent or hostile thought, and the number of moments it abides in our mind stream, if there were a hostile thought that arises in our mind stream, manifests in our mind stream, the number of moments it abides for those many eons, or for eons that equal in number to these moments, one will have uninterrupted births in the lower realms. Now, if that is the case, and somebody actually directs a physical or verbal abuse to a bodhisattva like this, then the negative consequences are immeasurable. So the Buddha, in one of his sutras, the sutra called Absorption of the Miraculous Ascertainment of Peace, says, Manjushri, as many times as bodhisattvas give rise to anger toward or cause trouble for other bodhisattvas, for that many eons, those bodhisattvas must prepare to don their armor for life as hell beings. So even for bodhisattvas, if a lesser ground bodhisattva were to direct anger towards a higher ground bodhisattva, or towards an equal ground, same ground bodhisattva, then the consequence is very negative. The consequence is that that bodhisattva will have to be reborn in as a hell being for as many eons as the number of times he's generated anger towards the other bodhisattva. So there is a great risk in not being mindful about our actions towards bodhisattvas, or a person who is endowed with bodhicitta. So one cannot correctly assess the capabilities of another person, and hence it is important that all of us need to train in what is called pure perception. So it is something that came up in our discussion, Madhavi, yesterday. So everyone needs to train in pure perception. So Madhavi had mentioned this verse from the 8 verses of training the mind by Geshe Langri Thampa. It says, whenever I am in the company of others, I will regard myself as the lowest among all, and from the depths of my heart, cherish others as supreme. There's a similar verse which says, even if I am praised and honored by many as being greater than others, may I keep my mind free from pride, holding myself low, as humble as heart. So one should occupy the lowest ground and hold everyone else on one's crown. So there's a mind training instruction. This way, there is lesser risk that you would, direct an afflicted action towards and higher ground Bodhisattva and then risk being reborn in the lower realms. So if you're not careful, you don't know who in your environment is a Bodhisattva or where the Bodhisattva is. And one manifests an ill thought in relation to the Bodhisattva, then there's a lot of danger. There's a great danger that you be reborn in the lower realms for a long duration. So that's verse number 34. Verse number 35, the penultimate verse. But if a virtuous attitude should arise in that regard, its fruits will multiply far more than that. When bodhisattvas greatly suffer, they generate no negativity. Instead, their virtues naturally increase. So if one were to develop a feeling of devotion to a bodhisattva with a very sincere mind, a mind of faith, then for as many moments that this devotion and faith manifested in our mind stream, its effect, the consequence, the positive consequence would exceed this count, and one obtains the merit to enjoy abundant fortune for eons exceeding this count. So that's the benefit of generating faith and devotion towards a bodhisattva. Bodhisattva themselves who are practicing cherishing others or oneself, and they're constantly kind of invested in fortitude. Even if they were to encounter some sort of a adversity, some great adversity, they do not produce any kind of negative mind. Not only do they not manifest any kind of afflictive states, when they confront some sort of a potent or a critical situation, adversity, their patience, their practice of patience, their forbearance, that manifests, and the forbearance and patience flourishes instead of manifesting any kind of afflictive state of attachment or aversion. There's patience, there's forbearance, there's love for others that kind of manifests and prospers in the mind of the bodhisattva. So if one cultivates the similitude of bodhicitta, one is not perturbed by ordinary adversities. So this is another benefit of cultivating bodhicitta. So in one of his previous lives, the Buddha, as a bodhisattva, he was born as a human, and then he was the captain of a ship. But he had cultivated bodhicitta and he was a bodhisattva. So he was on the ship and on a boat, and he discovered that there was a deranged man on board, and the man was planning to kill the other passengers, and there were 500 of them, 499 of them. And the Buddha, through his clairvoyant power, sensed that this is what this man is planning to do. So in order to prevent this mass killing, and in order to prevent this person from suffering the consequences of this immensely negative karma, out of pure compassion and bodhicitta, the bodhisattva, the Buddha in his previous life, decided to kill the man himself. So, so he was willing to suffer the consequences of the negative action of killing the man in order to prevent this mass killing and prevent that person from, experiencing the immense suffering that would accrue to him if he had killed all the 500 passengers. So this act was done out of great compassion to save the man from the severe karmic consequences of his intended actions. So this too is a benefit of bodhicitta. So therefore one needs to kind of achieve this complete all-round meritorious virtuous state, and for one to cultivate this, to achieve this state of all-round merit and virtue, one needs the assistance of bodhicitta as an ally. So this is verse number 35, and verse number 36 is just Shantideva summarizing all the above points, and he says that I bow down to the body of him in whom the sacred precious mind of bodhicitta is born. I seek refuge in that source of joy, in the person who is cultivated bodhicitta, in the bodhisattva who is endowed with bodhicitta, who brings happiness even to those who harm him. So this is just Shantideva, Acharya Shantideva, saying that he has immense faith and respect. And out of respect, he would bow down to any person who's cultivated bodhicitta. He would seek refuge in that person who brings joy and happiness to all sentient beings, even to those who would harm him. So this is verse number 36. So that's the last verse. We'll stop here. So just if there are any questions, maybe we'll probably have to post them on chat, and then the coordinators can relay those questions to me later on. We'll just end this session now with a short dedication. So just collect your thoughts and just reflect over some of the instructions that we've discussed through verses number 17 through 36. All the benefits of cultivating bodhicitta, the distinguishing features of bodhicitta, the merit that accumulates, the distinguishing features of the merit that accumulates, and then resolve to cultivate a similar mind in our mental continuum. And with whatever wish we have manifested in our mental continuum, however contrived and artificial it may be assured that there is some merit that has accrued to us. So let's direct that merit. So due to the merits of these virtuous actions, may I quickly attain the state of a Guru Buddha and lead all sentient beings without exception into that enlightened state. May the supreme jewel bodhicitta that does not arise and grow, and may that which has arisen not diminish but increase more and more. Okay, Namo Buddhaya, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you for your time and patience. If, as I said, if there are questions, you can relay them later. We can take them in the next session.
Thank you so much, Kalden La. And
Okay.
if there are
Thank
any
you,
questions, I will
Venerable.
send it all to you. I'll send it to you. Just if I can make an announcement about next week.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, next week we have one of our teachers, Venerable Thubten, coming to the center. He's visiting after a long time, and he will be leading us with the Tara Puja on Saturday, and we have the light offering puja on Sunday to celebrate Diwali with everyone. So whoever is in Bangalore, please come. Raptanla also would like to meet some of his old students, so please come to the center, and it'll be very nice to interact with all of you. So saying thank you so much, Kaldenla, for taking time.
Thank you,
All the
everyone.
best for your exams.
Thank you very much.
And
for
it's a
explaining
written
that.
exam or is it a debate exam, Kaldenla?
It's an oral debate exam, and then after that, in 2 weeks' time, we'll have a written exam after the oral exam.
Okay. And just to also share, we heard news yesterday that His Holiness may be going to Drepung in December. Whatever news comes, we will share with all of you. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Happy
Thank you.
Diwali to everyone.
Everybody.
Thank you. Bye. Bye, people.